Ladies and gentlemen, the war in the Middle East has seen a serious escalation and reached India's neighborhood. Pakistan, as we speak, is on extremely high alert, anticipating a tit-for-tat attack from Iran. Early this morning, as you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning, Pakistan had launched retaliatory missile strikes inside Iran, targeting what it calls hideouts that shelter Baloch terrorists. 9 people have been killed, including 4 children. Now, these precision strikes inside Iran's Sistan Balochistan province has left the country fuming, which means Iran fuming. Islamabad, on its part, has gone out on a limb to stress that these strikes were based on credible intelligence and conducted via drone rockets and long-range missiles, essentially saying we didn't cross into Iranian territory. Quickly take a look at the footage that is now coming into us from Pakistan of the strikes they launched inside Iran.
This morning, Pakistan undertook a series of highly coordinated and specifically targeted precision military strikes against terrorist hideouts in Sistan-o-Balochistan province of Iran. A number of terrorists were killed during the intelligence-based operation codenamed Marg-Par Sarmachar. Over the last several years, in our engagements with Iran, Pakistan has consistently shared its serious concerns about the safe havens and sanctuaries enjoyed by Pakistani-origin terrorists, calling themselves Sarmachars, on the ungoverned spaces inside Iran.
Now, interestingly, the Balochistan Liberation Front that Pakistan says it targeted inside Iran has said it doesn't have any hideouts in Iran. Now, be that as it may, Iran says the attack was 3 to 4 kilometers inside its territory, and footage emerging now shows several small buildings damaged. There it is. Tehran has now summoned Pakistan's senior-most diplomat in the country. Question is, will Tehran strike once again at Pakistan, or will the matter rest here, given that it's now even Stevens? First, Iran attacked Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has launched airstrikes inside Iran. Is it now over, or will we see escalation? Point is, ladies and gentlemen, Iran and Pakistan share a 900-kilometer border and have shared a fairly rocky relationship. Both sides have long accused each other of harboring terrorists that attack civilians and security forces on either side. But 2 days ago, Iran launched an unprecedented escalation against not just Pakistan, but Syria and Iraq as well. The Iranian missile strike deep inside Pakistan killed 2 people and shook its military establishment. The Prime Minister of Pakistan flew back from Davos and suspended diplomatic ties with Iran. But the question is, why did Iran attack Pakistan in the first place? The answer to that question is layered with the geopolitical realities of West Asia, but it is also layered with what has been happening inside Iran. A month ago, a police station in a place called Rusk, barely 60 kilometers away from Pakistan's border, came under attack. 11 police officials, Iranian police officials, were killed. Iran said Pakistan-based terror group Jaish al-Adl was responsible. Now, this is the very same terror group that just, by the way, had kidnapped Kulbhushan Jadhav and handed him over to the Pakistanis. Listen into what the Iranian foreign minister has said on this.
در مورد پاکستان هیچ یک از اتباع کشور همسایه، دوست و برادر ما پاکستان مورد هدف پهپاد و موشک‌های ایران نبودند. گروهی موسوم به جیش العدل که یک گروه تروریستی ایرانی است و در بخش‌هایی از مناطق پاکستان در استان سیستان و بلوچستان پاکستان پناه گرفته‌اند و ما بارها در مورد اون با مقامات عالی رتبه نظامی، امنیتی و سیاسی پاکستان گفتگو کردیم، عملیات‌هایی رو در روزهای گذشته در ایران انجام دادند، از جمله در پاسگاه راسک نیروهای انتظامی ما رو به شهادت رسوندن. پاسخ ما روی تروریست‌های ایرانی در داخل خاک پاکستان هست.
Okay, question is, and point is, it's not just one attack. It's multiple. And Iran had to be seen to be doing something. How could they ignore the deadliest attack on their soil since the 1979 revolution? If you remember, on January 3rd, 2 bomb explosions in Kemran had killed at least 100 people. They had come to the grave of General Qasem Soleimani, who had been killed in a US drone strike in Iraq 3 years ago. The Islamic State, a Sunni militant group, had claimed responsibility for this carnage in Shia-dominated Iran. Now, Iran says it targeted the Islamic State with its strike in Syria. Question is national security the only reason why Iran has stepped on the gas, so to speak? It's interesting that Iran has consistently said it does not want to get involved in the larger Hamas-Israel war, but has done exactly that via its proxies. First targeting ships in the Red Sea via the Houthis, and then getting into a low-intensity conflict with the United States. Of course, then there is the Hezbollah that has once again rejected a US proposal to cool off fighting with Israel. Israel, on its part, is calling Tehran an empire of evil. This is Israel's president speaking at Davos.
The issue is, and the world has to face it point blank, with no ifs and buts, there is an empire of evil emanating from Tehran, spending billions of dollars in arms and money and people's well-being to derail the entire stability of the world and the region. They've attacked the United States forces 2 nights ago, openly. They have proxies all over the region, quietly lurking to undermine any peace process and any stability of the world. And that is exactly what we are seeing, and they have to be faced by a very strong coalition.
Again, the question is Iran acting in self-defense, attacking Pakistan, Iraq, and Syria, or does it have something to do with the desire to dominate West Asia and to set the narrative in Afghanistan? For the moment, the conflict in the Middle East is threatening to spread, with at least 6 countries, including Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, and Syria, seeing action. Will it escalate further, and does it threaten India? Let me put that question to my guest this evening. Joining us on the broadcast, Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain, someone who understands Iran very well. Maruf Raza, someone who understands the politics of West Asia very well as well, consulting editor with the Times Network. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. General Hasnain, I'm going to start with you and ask you a question that is perplexing me. Here are 2 countries that call each other brothers, just by the way, and they're doing it even after the strikes against each other. So here are 2 countries calling each other brothers. Their top-level leadership speaking and interacting with each other at Davos. Their navies conducting joint exercises barely a week ago, and then they go and launch missile strikes against each other. Ho kya raha hai?
Yes, Shreya. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me for this show. Very, very interesting. And your questions are even more interesting. Ironically, the most peaceful border in Southwest South Asia at the moment seems to be the India-Pakistan border. It is the Pakistan-Afghan border, the Pakistan-Iran border, all seems to be alive, linked hugely to all the events which are taking place in West Asia, right up to the Red Sea, that's including the Houthi strikes on the shipping there. Having said this, yes, this is a history of very awkward relations. You referred to it yourself in your initial commentary between Pakistan and Iran. They have been both members of CENTO. If you remember the US strategic arrangement of the 50s and the 60s, they were members of CENTO, both of them. I wouldn't really call them brothers. I would call them step-brothers, because the treatment against each other has mostly been very, very step-brotherly. They've been speaking upfront. They have been very good to each other, very polite to each other, but somehow their interests have always clashed. And one of the deepest aspects of the clash of interest is ideology. You have to remember that Iran is Shia. It is the core Shia country in the Shia, so-called strategic Shia crescent, which is there. Pakistan has got its own aspirations. Right from 1947, they have had aspirations of being the flag bearer of Islam. Today, 225 million nation, second largest perhaps or third largest Muslim nation of the world, they consider themselves, and now with having been nuclear armed too, they consider themselves as virtual leaders of the world. The only thing which is lacking in this whole thing is their economy. So this aspiration always keeps driving Pakistan. And therefore, somewhere or the other, ideologically, the aspect of strategic space in Southwest Asia, Pakistan and Iran can never be on the same page as such, as far as their interests are concerned. One thing which is there is they are members of the SCO. They are both allies of China, virtual allies of China, and I'm in very good relations with China. The area of the Indian Ocean, the Northwest Indian Ocean area, very crucial zone these days, is also an area of commonality for them. After all, the whole Makran coast, it goes up right up from there to Chabahar. So geographically, geopolitically, in many ways, their interests are common, but yet at the same time, their interests are also very different. So, and a conflict at some stage is inevitable, but I don't think this conflict is going to go to the next step. It may have one or two more exchanges at the maximum. This is messaging which is going on at the moment. Pakistan, because of the pressure it has been under from the Western world, from different quarters, I don't want to name them, has got itself somehow into the network which is pushing Iran. Iran does not want to be sandwiched between the Persian Gulf, West Asia, and Pakistan. And therefore, it has demonstrated its capability to hit out and retain its interests.
But Maruf Raza, is that exactly what Iran also did 2 days ago? After all, look at what has happened in Iran in the last 1 month. First, you have 100 people dying in twin bomb blasts, an attack that was carried out by ISIS. Then you have a border town barely 60 kilometers away from the Pakistan border, where a police station comes under attack and 11 police personnel are killed. So when Iran says this is an act of self-defense, why should we not believe it? Because India's stand is that we are backing Iran if this was an act of self-defense, and India seems to be suggesting that we are buying what the Iranians are telling us in the world.
I fully endorse that. I fully endorse that, Shreya. It is what India has said, that is an act of self-defense, is actually what it is. It is an act of self-defense, because all this while it was being pressured from the Western side. Now it's from the East that all of a sudden the pressure, strategic pressure is coming on it. And it had to hit out. Otherwise, it was going to get constricted in a very big way.
Okay. Maruf, would you want to come in here?
Maruf?
Can Maruf hear us? Oopsie, I don't. Maruf, if you can hear me. Hi. Okay. Let's do something. Let's try and see if Maruf can hear me. Maruf? Okay, let's try and reconnect. Maybe there's an audio issue there. General Hasnain, then I want to ask you, do you see, I think you've already spoken about it, but do you see the escalation going any further? Pakistan has sent out a warning to Iran. Iran, interestingly, has accepted that there has been a strike by Pakistan. Yes, 9 people have been killed. But they are not reacting to it beyond that. They are not saying much beyond that. Do you see this escalating? And will there be a problem for India if it does escalate? If Maruf is with us, maybe he can answer that question. Maruf?
Yeah, Shreya, first, let me compliment General Hasnain. In his classic style, he has covered all the key issues, left me with very little to intervene with. But having said that, let me bring in 2, 3 new dimensions. One is that Iran and Pakistan have had a blow-hot, blow-cold relationship for a long time. Please remember that in the 1971 war with India, Pakistan had parked a lot of its fighter jets in Iran to save it from getting destroyed by Indian Air Force attacks. Secondly, Pakistan has been an ally of the US on and off, just like Iran was before the elimination of the Shah from the scene. So there are a lot of skeletons in the cupboard both sides know about. But the most important thing is that Pakistan and Iran are both vying for strategic space because Pakistan wants to get back into a Western-centric narrative while remaining a sort of strange bedfellow with the Chinese and with the various other countries, including the various terror groups. Now, Pakistan wants to show that it is innocent, has nothing to do with humoring or harboring terrors, and it is also a country that is showing responsible patience. But the point at issue is that, let me give you 3 or 4 examples. Pakistan used the same Jandula gang of terrorists to abdicate Captain Kulbhushan Jadhav from Iran and bring him into Pakistan. And Pakistan has all along used him to try and extract leverage from India. Secondly, Pakistan has been going back to Iran from time to time to try and discipline the various Hazara militants who operate out of Balochistan, who Iran also has influence over. Now, Pakistan has a Balochistan problem. Much of it is their own creation, but they would like the world to believe that they are a responsible mid-level player, and therefore this is whatever the problem is not their doing. Now, as far as the current crisis in the West Asian area is concerned, going and Middle East stretching right up to Pakistan, you see, a lot of people don't understand that Pakistan sees itself an important part of the West Asian narrative. This started in Zulfikar Bhutto's time, and not wanting to only see itself in confrontation with India. So it wants to have a toehold in West Asia. It wants to be able to show that, it is a muscular Muslim country with nuclear weapons. And Iran cannot be pushed around. America has tried very hard. The Western countries have tried very hard. Iran will stand up for what its own interests are. So I see a little more escalation, but not to unmanageable levels between the two sides, till some good sense prevails over them that not to go beyond a particular threshold. The second thing is that this firing of missiles by Iran is something that Iran has undertaken also to humor public opinion. Public opinion doesn't want to see in Iran, especially where their economy is under a tight spot, that the Iranian government is being pushed around by whoever. So Iran is riding a high horse right now. It's got the Houthis playing havoc with people on sea. It's got the Hezbollah, which is hitting out in Syria and even Israel. And it's, of course, the patron of the Hamas, which is played hell in Jerusalem and those areas. So, not Jerusalem, pardon me, in Gaza. So the fact is that Iran now wants to capitalize on its tactical gains to make a strategic point. And the strategic point is that Iran can influence the course of geopolitics in West Asia. Back to you.
General Hasnain, before we wrap, can I ask you General Hasnain, if you could just come in here. My last question is an obvious question. Many of our viewers will be wondering, does this impact us? If it's impacting Pakistan, that's our neighbor, right? Does this impact us? Today, we saw that the Indian Navy, responded to an SOS call on the Red Sea once again, where there were drone strikes at a merchant vessel. This is the second time they've had to do it. So the Houthis are targeting ships in the Red Sea. We know that there are Indian interests there, there are global interests there. Should we be worried beyond that?
No doubt India's rising geopolitical importance takes it well beyond this region itself as far as its interests are concerned. We've got a huge diaspora in this area. We've got huge business interests here. We've got our energy interests here. We've got our communication interests in terms of the sea lanes of communication coming out from here. Anything here, any disruptions here are going to affect us directly, affect our economy, affect our security. There's no doubt about it. And I think it is just stopping at our borders. Obviously, India's borders are stable. It will not go beyond that. But India would not like the impact of all this coming to its borders. Pakistan has a knack of getting itself involved in all over the place as far as its borders are concerned, and finally, perhaps even look for some kind of a retribution against us. They feel somehow that, carrying out certain acts on our borders, on our territories, etc., if it's going to get them greater brownie points in the Islamic world. That's not true, of course. They will never achieve that kind of a thing. But India cannot sort of keep itself away from this because it's far too deeply involved in it. Our other interests in the United States, with the Western world, with the I2, U2, with the IMEC corridor, which we are looking at, there are so many things which are in the melting pot at the moment that we would not like this kind of disruption to happen in this area at all.
All right, General Hasnain, we leave it there for the moment. Pakistan, the perennial trouble creator, as it were. We leave it there. General Hasnain, thank you very much for your perspective. Maroof Raza, thank you very much for your perspective as well. This is a developing story. Iran has not responded to Pakistan's retaliatory airstrikes. Let's see if that happens this evening or tomorrow morning. Both of you are saying there could be minor escalations, but that is where it will stop. The neighborly brothers are not at the brink of war as we speak, or at least that's the hope. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's shift